On the outskirts of the commercial district, up on the 75th floor, rows of boarding houses stood closely packed together. This area was usually a resting stop for wandering merchants after long days of travel, offering rooms that ranged from luxurious and pristine to modest and cheap. Among the red-roofed houses, there was a two-story building clad entirely in stone. Not only were the 2 floors below rented out, but even the attic above was put to full use. There, under the faint light filtering through a tiny window, a green goblin's hands were busy counting silver and gold coins spilled out from a cloth bag. It was Scarum, the sly green goblin known for swindling people. Strangely enough, he now found himself cramped in this shabby attic, counting his meager earnings. 4 or 5 coins. It didn't amount to much no matter how he counted. Grinding his teeth, Scarum muttered, "Sk, how much did I even make this time?" Lately, those inspection bureau guys have been way too vigilant these days. It's getting harder to snag these pushovers. With his greedy nature, if he'd made any decent money, there was no way he'd still be holed up in this dirty attic. Thinking about the times he'd scored big only made him more irritable. In frustration, he pounded on the wooden door behind him. "Hey, get it together. Bring me something valuable, will you?" Whoever was behind the door didn't reply, not even a grunt to acknowledge his words. Scarum didn't bother pressing the issue. He grabbed his familiar hat and put it on, ready to start another day of scams with high hopes of snagging bigger fish. Should I scout around to see if there's a big catch nearby? Before he could act, a massive explosion suddenly blasted through the attic wall. The goblin instinctively ducked, barely avoiding the debris. When he looked up, a large gaping hole had replaced a part of the wall. The tiny round glass window had been blown apart, leaving a gushing draft of wind sweeping through the room. Amidst the swirling dust, something white poked out from the pile of straw in the center of the attic. Scarum froze, his heart racing as he sat down heavily on the floor, too frightened to approach and check what had caused the destruction. What is going on? It wasn't until a white figure rose from the straw that he realized it was a tower monster. A trembling female voice broke the silence, struggling to steady herself. The moment she managed to stand upright, she slammed her fist into the floor, yelling furiously, "Theo! And that little brat Iona too! Those insolent bastards!" Oh, it turned out to be Meryl. She'd been blasted straight here from the mansion all the way to the 75th floor outskirts by a powerful spell from the Grand Archmage. Oblivious to her surroundings, Meryl grabbed a handful of straw, clenched it tightly, and continued cursing. "How dare they humiliate me, Meryl, the most beautiful cat. I won't let this slide." Seeing her about to rip all the straw to shreds, Scarum cautiously approached and called out softly, "Hey, Miss White Cat over there, what did you just say?" Hearing his voice, Meryl immediately turned her head, glaring daggers at him. Scarum, ever the smooth talker, had already caught on to the name Theo during her tirade. He was eager to learn more about what had happened. "Could you explain in detail what you just said? You see, I have a very interesting plan." A glint of opportunity flashed in Scarum's red eyes. He was already scheming ways to turn this into profit, even though he knew Meryl wasn't some clueless rookie merchant. Meanwhile, Meryl's angry gaze turned skeptical, but she was curious to hear what this goblin had to say. When she saw his outstretched hand as if they were old friends, she frowned in annoyance and asked, "Who are you?" By asking that single question, congratulations, she had walked right into the trap of the infamous scammer, Scarum. Later that afternoon, Hegel, the Black Wolf tribe's chieftain, arrived at the edge of the forest, near Lake Zenka, to meet his subordinates tasked with counting the numbers. As soon as he saw them, Hegel asked, "Have you confirmed the number of frogs?" They replied, "Yes, it's been confirmed, but the number has dropped significantly since yesterday." The tribe leader was utterly confused. The situation was baffling, as no one had proposed a solution yet. Why had the numbers suddenly dropped? He asked his subordinate in disbelief. How could this happen? Just then, another Black Wolf subordinate came rushing in, shouting loudly, "Chieftain Hegel!" Seeing his panicked expression, Hegel asked, "What's the matter?" The subordinate, stomping his feet in impatience, urged, "Please come with me, sir. There's something I think you need to see." Hegel followed him to the other side of Lake Zenka, where he was shocked to find dead green frogs scattered all over the ground. Each one had died in a different way. Some lay face down, others belly up with their white undersides exposed, and some even had their tongues sticking out. Dozens of green frogs were dead on the shore or floating on the lake's surface. The sight made Hegel's heart skip a beat. What's going on here? Are they all dead? While Iona would likely be thrilled to hear about the drastic drop in green frog numbers, Reporting back without a proper explanation might risk angering the fiery hamster even more. In truth, the Black Wolf subordinate also had no clue what had happened, which was why he had called Hegel to see for himself. Once Hegel had taken in the situation, the subordinate pointed toward the distance. "Look over there, Chief." To the north, not far away, beyond a gently sloping mountain range, a white column of smoke was rising into the sky. It looked as though someone was roasting or cooking something. Lake Zenka had long been dominated by the frog tribe, leaving no room for other monsters to linger nearby. Frogs, being water dwellers, had no love for fire. So, who on earth was lighting fires here? Hegel immediately ordered, "We need to go check this out." Half an hour before the Black Wolf tribe spotted the smoke, in the edge of the forest, Sejun and his two young companions were utterly exhausted after clearing out an entire pile of frogs. Around them, heaps of frog corpses were stacked high, with no one bothering to clean them up. The ground bore the marks of a fierce battle, now cracked into large sections. The air was quiet, save for the sound of Sejun chewing. He had stuffed some pineapple into his straw hat and was wearily munching to gain a bit of energy. Kwong and Black Rabbit each held a piece of pineapple, but their faces lacked the enthusiasm they had shown when they first tasted the sweet fruit. Their cheeks sunken and pale, Sejun chewed his pineapple while asking the system, "How many have we killed now?" Astonishingly, the three of them had taken down 1,150 frogs. Though there were still over 1,000 left, they had eliminated nearly half. Exhausted, Sejun leaned against a fallen tree, staring up at the sky in despair. "We've been chasing them all day without a break or even food. I'm wiped out." Next to him, his child whined, "Dad, I'm hungry. This is too hard." At Sejun's feet, the rabbit warrior was also out of energy, letting out soft squeaks. The frogs were now fleeing to avoid them, making it increasingly difficult to chase them down. Though they no longer had to hunt the frogs, the group was completely spent, and all they had to eat was pineapple. Sejun held up his last piece and offered it to Kwong, asking, "Do you want it?" But the mere sight of pineapple now terrified the little one, as if it were a ghost. Covering its eyes with its hand, Kwong exclaimed, "No, no, I want meat," and began to sob. Seeing this, Sejun couldn't bear it. Kneeling down to comfort his child, he said, "Oh, my Kwang has grown up now. Fruits can no longer fill your belly, huh? All right, I'll go to the lake and catch some fish for you." However, just as he took a step forward, a system notification stopped him in his tracks. The fish population in the lake is unstable due to the frogs. If a middle manager eats fish from the lake, the blue carp will face an even greater risk of extinction. Sejun was dumbfounded. "What? So we can't eat anything? Is there really nothing in all of Lake Zenka besides frogs and blue carp? What do you expect us to do?" Of course, the system didn't bother to reply. Just then, the red bear called out, "Dad, I have an idea!" "What is it?" Sejun asked, watching as Kwang pointed at the nearest frog corpse. It took him a few seconds to realize what his child was suggesting. The red locusts are edible, so why wouldn't the green frogs be? He burst out praising Kwang. "You're a genius, aren't you?" His enthusiastic encouragement made Black Rabbit secretly happy. It peeked out to ask again, just to be sure. Could it be? Sejun decisively took a frog to the base of a nearby tree. Using Wooka's warrior axe, he skillfully butchered it into bite-sized pieces, carefully selecting the thighs, which had a mix of lean meat and fat. He then meticulously wrapped the frog meat with detoxifying green onions they had brought along. With those onions, any toxins in the meat would be neutralized. And even if there weren't any toxins, the green onions would enhance the meat's flavor to an entirely new level. Once everything was ready, he placed the wrapped meat on a horizontal branch and roasted it directly over a fire burning below. The aroma of grilled meat filled the air, and before long, the dish was done. Sejun laid the meat on several large leaves and sliced it into 3 portions of varying sizes. "All done. Let me introduce to you the masterpiece, frog and green onions roll." Black Rabbit gaped in disbelief at the new dish, while Kwang jumped up and down, showering him with praise. "Dad, you're the best in the world." Even beyond his 2 kids, the system chimed in promptly to congratulate him. The achievement of creating frog and green onion roll has been accomplished. Recipe registered with cooking skill level 3. Cooking proficiency at level 3 has increased significantly. The requirements for proficiency of cooking level 3 has been met. You have leveled up. You have reached cooking level 4. As an effect of cooking level 4, special effects are imbued to the frog and green onion roll. This dish, already delicious, was now officially recognized as an achievement-worthy creation. Frog and green onion roll, a dish crafted by grilling frog meat wrapped in detoxifying green onions. With masterful cooking skills, the flavors of the frog meat and green onions blended perfectly, creating an exceptional taste. The green onions neutralized any toxins in the frog meat. Special effect: smooth movements in water. Tower Farmer Park Sejun, shelf life 5 days. Grade C+. Wow, this is amazing. The most intriguing part for Sejun was the special effect added to the dish. It says smooth movements in water. Could it mean better swimming ability? This might come in handy for catching frogs that try to escape into the water. As Sejun pondered over the skill's potential, an impatient diner couldn't wait any longer. Kwang shot him a look of exasperation. "Dad, focus on the food." Startled by his child's glare, Sejun hurriedly apologized. "All right, let's eat first. Everyone gets a piece. Bon appetit." Finally, a smile of satisfaction appeared on the kids' faces. The pile of meat in front of them had been waiting long enough. Sejun cautiously took a bite to test the flavor. Remembering the time he had tried chewing on red locust meat, tough as rubber, he appreciated his teeth even more. But the frog meat was nothing like he had imagined. It wasn't tough at all. Instead, it was wonderfully tender and flavorful. Each bite came apart easily, revealing its incredible taste. The two kids sparkled with delight. "This is awesome. It's so much better than we thought." It seemed this dish was destined to become a new favorite for both Kwang and Black Rabbit. Even with Sejun, he found the dish quite impressive. The meat was soft and moist, with a discernible muscle texture that added to the experience. Usually, frog thigh meat is the toughest part, but this one was surprisingly tender and easy to chew. It wasn't greasy either, and it even had a slightly sweet taste. As soon as he took a bite, the system popped up to congratulate him. "You've eaten a frog and green onion roll. As the special effect of smooth movement in water, you can now move smoothly in water for 30 minutes. That bite of frog was just a demo, folks, merely a test to see if it was edible. Behind him, 3 more pairs of cleaned frog legs were ready. Sejun pulled out a thoroughly roasted frog thigh for himself and handed another to Kwang. "Now that we've confirmed the taste, let's begin the real feast, shall we?" Kwang, who needed to eat at least 10 frogs to feel satisfied, grabbed the frog leg excitedly and told his dad to roast more. Even the rabbit's almost done with his first bite. Just as he was about to take a bite, a loud shout of "Stop!" startled Sejun. Before he could make sense of what was happening, a massive black wolf charged at lightning speed, swatting the frog meat out of his hand and sending it flying into the air. Kwang hugged his frog leg tightly, refusing to let anyone take it. Holding his food in his hands only to have it knocked away was a first for Sejun. He stared wide-eyed, but it wasn't a food fight. Hegel wasn't here to snatch a meal. Instead, he howled with concern. "The frogs contain poison. You mustn't eat that." His intentions were good, but his fierce appearance made him seem like a hostile black wolf looking for trouble. Out of nowhere, Kwang transformed into a giant and slammed into Hegel's stomach, roaring, "Stay away from my dad!" The farmer quickly backed out of the brawl's radius, his soul barely clinging to his body as everything happened too fast to process. Hegel, caught off guard, flew backward, slamming into a nearby tree with a resounding bang. That punch was nothing short of Kwang's full force. The small bear had now turned into a massive one, casting a huge shadow over the black wolf chieftain in a menacing stance. Hegel struggled to his feet, now more wary of the young but powerful bear monster. Above all, the bear's fiery temper was no joke. Kwang clutched his weapon tightly, eyes blazing with ferocity. "To think you'd interrupt him while eating. I'll have to beat you up." Kwang's aggression was enough to make even the battle-hardened black wolf chieftain tuck his tail. Hegel, more than anyone, knew that red bears didn't live in packs. They were lone warriors residing on the 99th floor of the tower. Alarmed, the wolf wondered, "Why is a red bear here?" Cautiously, he tried to regain his stance, but luckily, Sejun rushed in to stop his son. Wait, Kwang, calm down, let's talk this out." The child glanced at his dad, not angry, but clearly able to read him like a book. "This black wolf isn't our enemy. He's just worried we might get poisoned by the frog meat. Isn't that what you were about to say, Dad?" Sejun stammered, waving his hands awkwardly, unable to deny it since his son had hit the nail on the head. Hegel, observing this from behind, felt something off. Why was the bear calling this human Dad? Then his eyes caught the black dragon pattern on Sejun's arm. He immediately bowed low behind him and shouted, "My apologies. I failed to recognize someone as great as you and acted rashly." Sejun was startled by the wolf's sudden humility. Turning around, he saw Hegel prostrating himself on the ground, respectfully introducing himself. "I am Hegel, the Black Wolf Chieftain. and I humbly greet the great black dragon. Black dragon, Park Sejun. He pointed at his own face. Well, it's me, Park Sejun here. But why is this wolf calling me black dragon? He pointed at his own face, curiously asked, Do you know me? Anyway, during the days when everything was a chaotic mess, someone was lounging very leisurely in the luxury mansion. Suddenly, its right ear twitched as if being pulled by someone. The orange cat looked up in surprise, letting out a soft nya. Was this ear twitching a sign of something? Such a small movement woke up Iona. The little hamster looked up and asked, What's wrong, Theo? The cat replied that it felt like something was going on, though it couldn't pinpoint what. Even with such a vague feeling, Iona immediately asked, Are you being drawn to something? Didn't you say there was nothing useful in this mansion? Theo held both its cheeks, focusing on the thought before answering. It's not here, Nia. It's somewhere far away. It's a tingling sensation, something that makes me crave a bit of jelly, Nia. So, you're just hungry. Iona huffed, jumping off Theo with a slightly pouty voice. I don't believe it. But her tone quickly turned cheerful as she reached a hand out to Theo. But since it's you, should we go to this place that's pulling you? Could Theo's feelings somehow lead them to Zenka Lake? At this time, the lake was completely still, not a ripple in sight. Ever since Sejun and his group dealt with the frogs, they had disappeared without a trace. Yet now, Sejun and Kweng were sitting on a rock near the lake, staring intently at it as if waiting for something. After a long while, 4 circular ripples appeared on the water's surface, accompanied by soft bubbling sounds. From beneath, the smooth skin of frogs emerged, but their faces drooped strangely, far from the fierce look they usually had when coming ashore. Then, all of a sudden, boom! Waves surged several meters high, and the frog corpses seemed anchored to something, not drifting away. Turned out it was Hegel and the Black Wolf clan leaping ashore from the water, each with a frog in their mouths. On the clan leader's head was Black Rabbit, the adventurous little one. As soon as Sejun saw them, he jumped up. Welcome back. How's moving through the water? Black Rabbit hopped down and quickly reported. Swimming and holding our breath underwater have become incredibly easy. So I could catch the frogs hiding between the rocks, but I couldn't find any more, even in the depths. Sejun skeptically opened the information panel and saw that 1,850 out of 2,291 frogs had been eliminated, meaning there were still about 500 left. But where could they be? We've searched around the lake, but there's no trace of them, he said. Suddenly, Hegel spoke up. I think they're hiding in a cave under the lake. Sejun, surprised, asked, A cave under the lake? The clan chieftain nodded, shaking water off himself as he explained. Yes. When we first came to the lake to hunt the frogs, we tried to locate a cave under the water, which was predicted to be the lair of the Frog Queen, but we failed. It's deep underwater, and we couldn't reach it with our strength. Strange, Sejun pondered. Not even after eating frog green onion roll, you couldn't dive that deep? Hegel replied, No, even if we found the entrance, we're unsure if there's oxygen inside the cave. While the adults discussed, Kong was busy hugging Black Rabbit, licking the water off his big brother. Every trip seemed to bring the two siblings closer, almost like they were from the same mother. Suddenly, from behind the bushes came the sound of footsteps rustling, and someone pushed through the branches, calling out helplessly, Boss Theo, please slow down. The cat emerged from the bushes, still as plump as ever, and scolded the one making all the noise behind it. Why are you so slow, huh? Hurry up, nah. This place is pulling me in strongly, nya. Sejun, standing there, couldn't believe his eyes at seeing the orange cat in this place. He called out in surprise and delight. Theo, is that really you? The two little ones at his feet, Kweng and Black Rabbit, were ecstatic. Big brother Theo, it's been so long, they exclaimed. Hearing the calls, Theo turned, instantly spotting the familiar human he hadn't seen in ages. Overjoyed, he dashed over. Mr. Sejun, is that you? Trailing behind was the Silver Wolf clan leader, smiling in greeting, with the tiny hamster Iona perched on his head, lying flat. Seeing familiar faces, Theo's expression lit up with pure joy. Chairman Park, he cheered, then leapt into Sejun's arms without hesitation, overflowing with excitement. I missed you so much, nya. Completely ignoring the astonished looks from the Black Wolves, Theo's reunion sparked an unexpectedly cheerful atmosphere among the motley crew of species. Clinging tightly to Sejun's chest, the cat hastily asked, How did you get here now? Below, Kweng and Black Rabbit clung to Sejun as well, their faces brimming with happiness. Sejun chuckled and said, It's quite a long story. Over there, The leaders of the two wolf clans exchanged brief nods as a greeting. Of course, everyone was curious about why the other had come, but they figured they'd take their time to figure it out. Iona, however, was only interested in one thing. What exactly drew Theo here? Was it the chairman? Elka shrugged. I'm not sure. Even Iona, sitting on Theo's head, had no idea what had drawn him, so how could the Silver Wolf clan leader know? Oh well, let's just take it slow. It's not a big deal. The little hamster chuckled, watching Theo reunite with his juniors. At this moment, he didn't resemble an experienced wandering merchant or a sharp businessman. He was just a big brother eager to play with his little siblings and cuddle with his elder. But that was just Theo, a unique cat through and through. Iona understood this and softly said, "After all, he's a special cat."